Hello everyone, friends. And I'm glad to see you on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for still being here, for not unsubscribing, because for a very long time there was no content on my channel due to a large number of personal and family matters, which I had to put aside in order to urgently record this video on the topic of how the DYDX project, the decentralized exchange DYDX, together with its team, the DYDX Foundation, and its delegates, scammed 45,000 people for a total of $25 million. And the more the DYDX token grows, if it ever grows at all, the greater the total amount of losses will become. So I'll start a little from afar, just to make everything clear. Here's the general essence of the issue. So what is DYDX? DYDX is a decentralized exchange for trading derivatives and futures. It was one of the first to launch, held some kind of public sale, attracted funds from investors, and distributed airdrops to people. Many people who traded on this platform, yes, during the testnet phase, received tokens. These tokens were later worth some money and people sold them. So overall, the launch was very successful, the project became widely known, and it has existed ever since. The project was launched on the Ethereum blockchain, but as you all know, Ethereum has scalability issues. It's kind of heavy and slow, and during periods of aggressive market growth, it also becomes insanely expensive. So at one point, the DYDX team decided to move away from the Ethereum network. Well, not exactly move away, but rather to find an alternative solution by launching their own network, their own layer solution, which they called Daidex chain on Cosmos SDK. There's a project called Atom, which I'm sure everyone has heard of many times already. And so over the many years of this project's development, due to the high cost of the Ethereum network, the team gradually transferred the utility function of the DYDX token from the Ethereum blockchain to the DYDX token on their native blockchain, DYDX chain. As a result, over 2 or 3 years, the utility function of the DYDX token gradually disappeared, the one that was on the Ethereum blockchain. But the fact that the utility function disappeared didn't mean that you couldn't use this token or store it in your cold wallets. Moreover, most investors and influencers recommend to everyone not to keep funds on exchanges, because those aren't your funds, but to store them in the safest blockchains on your own cold wallets. And many investors, myself included, kept Ethereum tokens on cold hardware wallets. Even if not on hardware wallets, then on personal wallets like Trust Wallet or MetaMask. Yes, on the Ethereum blockchain, because it's considered the safest, most reliable network and the most decentralized among all those that exist, after Bitcoin, of course. Coin? Off, although perhaps even that statement can be called into question. But nevertheless, in general, it's absolutely certain that many investors kept the DYDX token on the native Ethereum blockchain because it's reliable, secure, they won't disappear anywhere, and everything will be fine with them. That's what everyone thought, up until, well, the events of the last few months. So then at one point, the DYDX team, together with the delegators and probably their foundation, decided to propose a proposal in which they suggested completely removing the token from the Ethereum blockchain. Yes, meaning from the most secure, reliable, and decentralized network, they decided to remove the token and put forward such a proposal. That's what they called it, an analysis and proposal on the Daidex chain network and Daidex tokenomics. To remove support for the smart contract that swaps tokens from the Ethereum network, ethDYDX, to the native DYDX chain network, which is referred to as a bridge in parentheses. In other words, roughly speaking, the bridge that was intended to allow people to gradually swap their tokens over these 3 years, for those who wish to do so, it's not mandatory. And it was never announced anywhere that everyone had to do it. So, for 2 years, there was simply a bridge so that people could swap their tokens from Ethereum to DYDX chain. So, in November 2024, the team rolled out a proposal which, among other things, along with the entire tokenomics, details about where part of the profits would go, who would participate in the distribution of these profits, and so on, included several points. One of these points was the deactivation of the smart contract. Just for your general understanding, this proposal, which we'll need to refer to later by the way, garnered, get this, a whole 581 views. So, just imagine. A proposal from the team discussing the shutdown of the ability to migrate tokens from the native Ethereum blockchain to the DYDX chain token gets 581 views. So such an important event, and it's not publicized anywhere except in their governance voting on their forum where basically only developers hang out, maybe a few hundred people at best, if that. 580 people. I feel like if I take a selfie and post it on Instagram, more people will see it than the number of DYDX token holders on the Ethereum blockchain who will see this proposal. And for them, it's so insanely important that if they don't do it, yes, through the bridge, they'll simply lose their tokens. And of course, all the delegates vote unanimously. The proposal gathers 92% of the votes with 127 million DYDX participating in this vote. I counted here 27 validators confirmed this event. And of course, the bridge is closed. So, at one point, a subscriber writes to me, Andre, I hold DYDX tokens. You once recommended buying them, but I found out that I can't deposit them anywhere, and no exchange is accepting them. The migration bridge is closed, and if you go to Uniswap and try to sell them, you'll find that there's no liquidity there, and the token is trading at 20 times less. Let me demonstrate this right now. Uniswap is integrated directly into the MetaMask wallet, and you can swap one token for another without even leaving your wallet. So here I enter swap one DYDX token. They're offering me $0.01 for it. That's 1 cent, yes? Meanwhile, it's currently trading on the market for 70 cents. You can sell the token on a decentralized exchange for 70 times less, simply because there's no liquidity. The team closed the bridge, withdrew liquidity from this blockchain, transferred that liquidity to DYDX chain, and as a result, deliberately locked out 45,000 people. Just think about it. Really think about that number. 45,000 people who have a DYDX token balance greater than 0. Of those, 11,000 people hold tokens worth more than $100. And so the team simply locked all these people out, giving them no way to withdraw, exchange, or convert their tokens. In other words, they're just empty tokens now, forever locked in the contract. So where am I getting these numbers from? Well, that's 4.1% of the total supply, 45,000 holders with positive balances, and 11,000 with balances over $100. You don't have to look far, just open a blockchain explorer, find the DYDX token on the Ethereum network, and you'll see that this token can't be removed from the blockchain. That's the advantage. If the team had the ability to just delete this contract from the Ethereum network, I'm sure they would have done it. But unfortunately, they can't do that. And that's why with blockchain, we can track everything. And you can open the holders tab here, right, and scroll through. Right now, I have 100 wallets displayed on one page, and you can scroll as much as you want. Page 5, page 6, page 7, and see the number of tokens in each wallet. For example, here is an Ethereum address ending in 484, which holds 6,389 DYDX tokens currently valued by the market at $4,100. If the price of DYDX triples, then all these funds will be worth $12,000 in its tokens. Let's move on, for example, to, say, the 10th page. Here we have a wallet ending in 793, holding a balance of 4,391 DYDX tokens, which the market values at $2,800, right? Again, if the token triples in price, that's almost $9,000 that this person would have lost, right? And there are 45,000 such people, of whom 11 hold balances of more than $100. So it turns out that all the retail investors who didn't read some news, weren't subscribed to their forum, didn't know about the closure of this bridge, have lost their funds forever. And this is pure retail because, of course, the DYDX team personally reached out to exchanges, contacted VC funds, got in touch with everyone, the delegates. Because you can see how the number of participants migrating tokens was growing. If you look at the proportional share of the supply, you'll see that literally in just, 2 days, the number of migrated tokens increased from 150 million to 350 million. So someone just took 200 million at once and transferred them. It could have been some fund, it could have been some exchange, it doesn't matter. But retail didn't really get the proper publicity about the news, because of which retail traders could lose their funds forever. And as a result, 41 million coins were permanently locked in this bridge, which the team categorically refuses to open. I have already tried to contact everyone, up to the CEO of the DYDX Foundation. I'll show this later. Everyone just totally ignores it. And as of today, almost 42 million coins. See, on bridge. That is, they are stuck in the bridge. At the moment, this amounts to $25 million of users' funds. So 4.2% of the entire supply was not converted. How can you shut down the bridge and the ability to exchange tokens and block users' funds when so many people, they can see it on the blockchain, right? 45,000 holders with positive balances, 11,000 with balances over $100, 2,500 with balances over $1,000. They see how many retail users will be affected. But nevertheless, their 27 delegates make the decision to close this bridge, and they go ahead and close it. And it turns out that people are stuck. They can't convert their tokens. They can only swap them, we calculated, at 60 times less, or 70, something like that. They can't deposit them to an exchange, so basically, their tokens have become completely worthless. In my opinion, this is absolutely stupid, unfair, and you just can't do things like that. As an investor, I accept that tokens can drop in price, that the project might not develop as expected, or that it could even be delisted from an exchange. So I'm willing to take that risk, but I'm not willing to accept the risk that the team could one day just block my tokens and cut off my access to my own funds. And I never agreed anywhere that I'm required to read their news on the forum or that I have to participate in their voting. Because all these DAO votes, we know they're just a sham, just for show. 27 people make the decision about what happens with the proposal. If I come in and vote with my 10,000 coins somewhere, put them on a proposal, it won't make any difference to anyone. We, the retail users, make up 42% of users. Well, maybe someone else converted, saw this news, heard about it, found out. Let's say there are 15% of us, but even if we all join forces, put forward some proposal, suggest it, and all vote for it together, 2 validators can come in and invalidate all our voting just because they have big stakes, a large number of coins. That's why, as I said, it's all just a sham. And in my opinion, the team did this deliberately, yes. That is, they deliberately decided to close this bridge because in the same proposal where they explained the necessity of closing the bridge, one of the points, right at the bottom, the 5th point, states the reason yes. In other words, one of the advantages of closing the bridge for all holders, for all 2DX token holders as they see it, is that reducing the circulating supply of non-migrated tokens on the Ethereum network will help redistribute balances from sales and reduce inflationary pressure on the token, yes. So, the team is putting forward in the proposal the idea that a large number of holders will remain on the Ethereum network, the most secure, decentralized, and reliable one. And they assume that people will not convert this token and that this token will permanently remove tokens from circulation. So in this way, the 2DX Foundation is making the decision to lock users' funds and remove the supply from the market. In my opinion, this is unfair. At least I didn't hear about this news in time. And let me remind you that for this proposal, the bridge lockup period lasted 6 months. So users had 6 months from the moment of the announcement when they were informed that this bridge would be closed. In other words, retail users really had 6 months to move these funds. Personally, yes, someone might say, it's your responsibility, you don't follow the forum, you don't, read not just news channels, but specifically the 2DX project's Twitter. But excuse me, I have about 50 projects in my portfolio, I'm in a bear market. These tokens have dropped 20-fold since I bought them, and I just physically don't have the ability to read all the channels, all the projects, and keep track of what's happening in each one, let alone go to the forum and take part in some vote or proposal where my decision doesn't matter at all because the decisions are made by 27 validators, like in this proposal. And all their proposals on their website, I wanted to show you, get like 78 views, 65 views, 268, 55. So, I mean, even their super important, essential proposals that the community is supposed to follow barely get 100 views. There are only a handful of cases where they even reach 1,000 views. Guys, every one of my posts gets 7,000 or 8,000 views. So just inform me as an influencer, right? Like, guys, we're shutting down, or inform all the influencers, or at least notify the media somehow. For some reason, the media didn't mention this. But when it comes to announcing that they're attracting investments from, say, Andreessen Horowitz or Electric Capital or another 20 funds in their portfolio, they're ready to announce that in every media outlet. But when it comes to truly important things where 45,000 people could lose their money, they just post it on their own forums. Even though the team could have reached out to me because they've contacted me before. We even have a working group with them, 2DX. There were 7 people here, 7 team members who once came to me and asked me to buy advertising. Andre, please cover news about our project, for example, like when we had a token burn. For example, we attracted some investments from a certain fund and we'll pay you for it, and you just promote this news on your channel. And there were 7 people in this chat. As soon as I asked them, guys, what's going on with you? Why did you close the bridge, and why didn't you at least inform me so I could inform my community? Because I once talked about your token back in 2023 and I really liked your project. I myself invested a significant amount of money in it, which is now sitting in my cold wallet. In response, the 2DX admin simply removes all the members from the group. I message him privately. What's going on? Why did you remove everyone? Just give me an answer. Just say something like, hi, we apologize. Unfortunately, our proposal decided to close this bridge. Yes, we weren't able to inform you. At least say something. But instead, they just go ahead and remove the team members from the chat. The admin who removed them isn't replying to my private messages, even though he was online. Well, he was online. Today is the 14th as I'm recording this review, and since the 12th, he hasn't read these posts. I started messaging all the team members directly. For example, I managed to reach Charles de Hasse, the CEO of ethDYDX Foundation. Here's proof that this is his personal account, the CEO's, because he posts his own photos here, and oh, his Telegram channel is linked to this profile. The CEO of ethDYDX Foundation reads my long post, and even several messages here, reads them and just ignores them. The whole team I messaged, including James, whom I had communicated with before, read the message and just ignored it. Zero response. And David Gogol, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the ethDYDX project, that is the Chief Operating Officer, also reads my message and ignores it. In other words, the team is completely ignoring such a serious issue. So, in my opinion, they just blatantly scammed 4.5% of the supply, locked it in a contract, removed it from circulation to avoid extra pressure on the market, and that's it. And now total silence. That's exactly why, because these 4.16% of unswapped DYDX tokens were removed from circulation, you can see on CoinMarketCap that the circulating supply is now 958 million coins, even though it used to be 1 billion. So that's where the 4.2% from the circulating supply went. So, what should you do now if you happen to be among those bystanders who missed this news, who aren't subscribed like I am, who don't follow the DYDX Foundation forum, or keep up with their updates on Twitter, even though they post about 7 times a day? It also seems to me that it's not easy at all to even see this news. If one of these wallets I'm showing, one of these 45,000 wallets, belongs to you, so first of all, together with active community members, we've already created our own proposal. If you go to the DYDX forum and open the proposals tab, you'll see the third proposal, which is called Migration Solution for ERC20 DYDX holders. Because, as I repeat, there are a lot of such holders. I wasn't even the one who created this proposal. It was actually made by other affected people, yes, those who hold these tokens. The author of the current proposal has provided a fairly detailed solution, yes, and several methods to address these issues. This can be either temporary or permanent. In my opinion, this should be done permanently. Reopen this bridge until the last holder has converted their tokens, because no one, no project, no CEO, no exchange has the right to block users' funds, unless those funds are somehow fraudulent, undiscovered, or suspected of being involved in money laundering, drug trafficking, and so on. But here, ordinary retail users are definitely not connected to these kinds of activities in any way. So the first proposal is to temporarily or permanently open this bridge and convert tokens one-to-one from the Ethereum network to the DYDX network. The second is to return liquidity to the decentralized exchange, yes, to Uniswap for the token on the Ethereum network, which the team withdrew and moved to the DYDX network. Or the third solution is to propose an alternative contract or to contact an exchange so that one of the exchanges opens centralized deposits on the Ethereum network. All retail users could transfer their funds there, and then the exchange itself could convert these tokens one-to-one through the bridge or via the team, which is also absolutely feasible. The issue is that the team does not want to do this. The proposal has already received 403 views and 558 likes. And as you can see, this is significantly more than any other proposal put forward by the team, because there, 80%, maybe even 85% of proposals barely get up to 100 views. In other words, basically no one is active on this forum at all. At least now we'll bring them some hype. So the first thing you need to do is go to the forum in the proposals section, find this offer, and leave your comment under it. Just please, don't write things like DYDX is a bunch of assholes. Like, they scammed me out of my $100. Write a detailed comment, saying that you also ended up as a hostage of the situation. I didn't see the news, you didn't cover it properly. None of the media mentioned it, only somewhere in the back corners of some private conversations. Please restore this bridge, or provide an alternative way to migrate the tokens. So only in this format is it possible that a larger number of delegators and team members will see our proposal. They'll realize that the problem is actually widespread, because they probably think that those holders who haven't migrated their tokens have simply forgotten about them. In reality, no, they haven't forgotten. They just weren't properly informed that the bridge would be closed and that they would lose their tokens forever. Next, the second thing you can do is go to my Telegram channel. The link is in the description below this video. I've posted a form there, yes, a form specifically for those who hold tokens on the Ethereum network. And just like me, and like many other participants, they hadn't heard or known about this news that the tokens needed to be migrated. For you, there's an opportunity to fill out this form, yes, and provide your Telegram contact so that I can simply get in touch with you. The number of tokens you are holding and your Ethereum wallet address. A public, not a private key, not a phrase, just the public wallet address so that the wallet can be identified with the user. This isn't going anywhere public. It's exclusively for me. Because in October 2025, I'm flying to Singapore for the Token 2049 conference. The DYDX team is usually represented there. They either set up a booth, or their CEO speaks on stage, or participates in panel discussions. I want to approach him, show this form, and say, look, CEO of DYDX Foundation, we have 300 or even 500 applications from real people here, people you can contact who have lost their tokens. Please do something about this so you don't think that nobody cares about them, or that everyone has forgotten about this situation. That's it. And if even that doesn't help, then probably our only remaining option is to send mass collective international complaints to the US Securities and Exchange Commission or other Swiss regulators, because DYDX Foundation is formally registered in Switzerland and they have their own office there. Members of our community have already suggested such ideas and have been actively pushing them. And some have already submitted applications. But I hope, that it won't come to this on a massive scale. After all, I hope the DDX team will hear us and propose their own solution for restoring the bridge, or provide some alternative way to migrate tokens, because there really are a lot of people affected. There are 45,000 holders left on the DYDX contract in the Ethereum network who have a positive balance. That is, their balance is greater than 0. That's a huge number of people whose funds simply can't be blocked like that, otherwise there could be serious issues. Friends, leave your comments under this video. If you also found yourself in this situation, if you held tokens on the Ethereum blockchain in cold storage, and you could never have imagined that this bridge would ever close and that someone would dare to deprive you of access to your funds, leave your comments in the proposal on the DYDX forum, fill out the form, and together I'm sure we'll come to some solution. If you're an influencer and you recommended your community to also buy a long-term DYDX portfolio, or talked about this project or promoted your referral links for DYDX, and you feel responsible for those people who bought this token based on your recommendation, then you can at the very least make a post about this on your social media, or at most record a video like the one I made of a similar nature and bring attention to this issue. Because if each person just sits alone and mourns, of course nothing will be resolved. But if we all unite in one group and try to solve this issue collectively, I believe we will succeed. That's all, friends. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I hope to return soon with market reviews, coin overviews, and to restore my channel in terms of content. That's all. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.